Ladies and gentlemen, you have never lacked money, not once in your entire life. What you have lacked is the consciousness of wealth. There is no such thing as poverty in the kingdom of heaven, and the kingdom of heaven is within you. The external world you see is nothing more than your own imagining, pushed out, solidified speech, crystallized feeling. Tonight I will prove to you that the distance between where you are and where you wish to be is not measured in dollars but in seconds. 30 seconds of rightly directed imagination shall do what years of toil could never accomplish. Now I know that sounds impossible to you. I know that as you listen to words, something inside you is already protesting. You are thinking of your bills. You are thinking of your bank account. You are thinking of the rent that is due and the debt that is mounting. You are thinking of all the evidence that surrounds you, pressing upon you, telling you that money is hard to come by and that you must struggle for every dollar. But I tell you this, and I tell you from personal experience and from the testimony of hundreds who have written to me, that evidence is a liar. Not because the facts are false, but because the facts are old. What you see around you today is the harvest of seeds you planted yesterday. Seeds of feeling, seeds of assumption, seeds of inner speech that you did not even know you were planting. Every night as you drifted towards sleep, you were planting. Every morning as you woke with worry pressing upon your chest, you were planting. Every time you said to yourself, I cannot afford this, or money is so tight, or how will I ever get ahead, you were planting seeds in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. And now those seeds have grown into the very circumstances that trouble you. But here is the great and liberating truth. You can plant new seeds. You can begin tonight, and the harvest can come faster than you ever imagined possible. Tonight I'm going to show you how to plant new seeds. Seeds that will bear fruit so quickly you wonder how you ever believed otherwise. And I'm going to show you how to do it in 30 seconds. First, let me tell you what you will receive from our time together this evening. I know why you are here. You are tired. You are tired of working so hard and seeing so little return. You are tired of lying awake at night, turning numbers over in your mind, wondering how you will make it all work. You have tried so many things. Perhaps you have read books on success. Perhaps you have attended seminars. Perhaps you have repeated affirmations until your voice grew. And still the money you seek remains just out of reach. I understand this weariness because I have known it myself, and I have seen it in the eyes of countless men and women who have come to me seeking answers. They come with hope mixed with desperation. They come having tried everything and failed. They come because somewhere deep within they sense that there must be another way, a way that they have not yet discovered. And there is another way. It has been hidden in plain sight all along, concealed in the scriptures, waiting for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. But here is what I want you to understand before we go any further. Your exhaustion is not because you have failed to work hard enough. It is because you have been working in the wrong direction. You have been trying to change the world from the outside, when the only place change can ever begin is within your own consciousness. You have been laboring to rearrange the furniture of your life, when what is needed is a change in the architecture of your mind. You have been fighting against circumstances, when circumstances are merely shadows cast by the light of your own beliefs, tonight that changes. By the time we are finished, you will possess a tool that you can use before you sleep this very night. It is called the SNAP technique, the subconscious now assumption practice, and it will show you how to plant a seed of wealth in fertile ground of your own subconscious mind in just 30 seconds. I know you may have heard many teachers speak of the law of attraction, of manifestation, of the power of thought. And perhaps you have tried their methods and found them wanting. Perhaps you wondered, am I doing this right? Why does it work for others and not for me? What am I missing? I will answer those questions tonight. I will show you exactly why some efforts fail and others succeed. I will reveal the single ingredient that most people miss the ingredient without, which all techniques are empty and all efforts are in vain. And I will give you a method so simple that a child could use it because, as you will see, a child once did use it with remarkable results. You may also be worried about your present circumstances. You look at your situation and see no way out. The walls seem too high. The obstacles seem too great. Your age, your education, your connections, or lack of them all seem to stand between you and the life you desire. But I will show you, through stories of real people, that circumstances have no power over the one who knows the law. A woman of 55 with no job, no money, and no prospects received monthly income for the rest of her life, simply by applying what I am about to teach you. A man trapped in a dead-end position was offered his dream job within weeks by a stranger he had never met. A mother and daughter in desperate need received thousands of dollars within days from a source they could never have predicted. These are not fairy tales. These are testimonies. They are reports from the field, letters that have come to me from men and women who have tested the law and found it faithful. And by the end of tonight, you will understand exactly how they did it and how you can do it too. Now, you may have been told that manifestation requires hours of visualization, that you must clear blocks and heal wounds from your past, that you must say affirmations 1,000 times before they take root, that you must align your chakras or balance your energy, or do any number of complicated practices before you can hope to see results. These are the complications of those who do not understand the law. The subconscious mind does not require length of time. It requires depth of feeling. 30 seconds in the right dishes, what 30 years of mere thinking never could. The impression is made in an instant, when the feeling is right. And once the impression is made, the subconscious begins its work immediately. What makes my approach different from what you may have heard before is this. I do not give you vague instructions to think positive or raise your vibration. These phrases mean nothing if you do not know how to apply them. They are like telling a drowning man to swim without teaching him the strokes. I give you a specific technique that moves you from thinking about your desire to thinking from your desire fulfilled. There is all the difference in the world between these two positions. And most people never learn to make the shift. When you think about your desire, you stand outside it, like a beggar at a window, looking in at what you cannot have. You are affirming separation. You are declaring that the thing you want is over there, and you are over here. And there is a gap between you that you are trying to close. When you think from your desire, you stand within it like the owner of the house, resting in what is already yours. There is no gap. There is no separation. You have entered into the state and made it your home. Tonight I will teach you how to enter that house, how to take your rightful place within the state of wealth, and how to do it so quickly and simply that you will wonder why no one ever told you before. But before I give you the technique, you must understand why it works. For unless you grasp the law behind the method, you will use it as a mere formula. And formulas without faith are empty vessels. They may bring temporary results, but they will not transform your life. So, let me tell you what I have discovered in the quiet hours of my own inner explorations and in the many years I have spent studying the great psychological truths hidden in Scripture. Let me begin with a story that will illuminate everything that follows. A man came to me some years ago in a state of distress. He was a bank executive, respectable, secure in his position, wearing falve, and carrying himself with the dignity of a successful man. But behind that facade, he was trapped. He was stagnant in his pay. He had reached a ceiling and could not break through. He had gone to his superiors and asked for advancement. They told him frankly that no major improvement was possible. The bank had its structures, its hierarchies, its limitations. If he was dissatisfied, he could seek employment elsewhere. This man had a wife. He had children who would need good schools, good universities. His present income could not carry them there. He lay awake at night wondering what he would do. He had worked hard all his life, played by the rules, done everything that was expected of him. And yet the world seemed to have placed a ceiling over his head that he could not break through no matter how hard he tried. When he came to me, he was looking for answers. Any answers. He had heard that I taught something about the power of imagination, and though he was skeptical, his desperation outweighed his doubt, and so I explained the law to him. I told him that his present situation was not a punishment and not a misfortune. It was not bad luck or the unfairness of the world. It was a reflection. The outer world is a mirror, and it shows you only the face you present to it from within. His circumstances were not blocking his advancement. His consciousness was he did not believe me at first. Most people do not. It is easier to blame the world than to examine oneself. It is more comfortable to point at external obstacles than to confront the internal assumptions that created them. But I asked him to try an experiment. I asked him to suspend his disbelief for a few weeks and apply what I taught him. If it did not work, he would have lost nothing but a little time. If it did work, he would have gained everything. I said, "What position would you love above all others? If you could have any job in the world, what would it be?" He thought for a moment and told me that his dream was to manage the investment funds of a great foundation or university. He had always been fascinated by that world, the world of endowments and trusts and vast financial resources directed toward noble purposes. But he had no contacts in that world. He had no way in. He had never even met anyone connected to such institutions. It was impossible. I said, "That is not your concern. The way is not your business. You do not need to figure out how it will happen, who will help you, or what steps you must take. Your only business is to assume the state of being the man who has already secured such a position." He looked at me as if I had lost my mind. But I continued. I gave him a simple instruction. Each night as he prepared for sleep, he was to lie down and relax his body completely. Then, just as he began to feel drowsy, that wonderful floating state between waking and sleeping, he was to imagine himself lying in bed at the end of a magnificent day, not a day in the future, a day that had already passed. He was to feel that today, this very day, he had finalized an agreement to join exactly the kind of organization he had described in precisely the capacity he desired. He was not to see the negotiations or the interviews or the steps that led to the position. He was simply to feel the relief, the satisfaction, the deep contentment that would be his if it had already taken place. Just 30 seconds of that feeling saturated with reality before sinking into sleep. He agreed to try, though I could see he did not truly believe it would work. That was all right. He did not need to believe. He needed only to do. The law works whether you believe in it or not, just as gravity works whether you believe in it or not. You do not need faith to fall from a high place. He did this every night through December. He did it through January. Night after night, before sleep. He entered that drowsy state and felt the satisfaction of having received his dream position. In early February, something extraordinary happened. A director of one of the wealthiest foundations in the world approached him without his seeking, without any connection he could trace, and asked if he would be interested in joining them as an executive handling investments. The man was stunned. He had done nothing to make this happen. He had not sent out applications. He had not worked at social events. He had not even known anyone connected to this foundation. And yet the offer came as if carried on invisible wings and landed in his lap. The director explained that he had been watching the man for some time, admiring his work, noting his integrity. He believed that investing in this man's abilities would be a sound decision for the foundation. Today that man lives a life that far exceeds his former dreams. Not because he forced the world to give him what he wanted, but because he changed himself and the world rearranged itself to match his new state. This is the law. And 30 seconds of application proved more powerful than years of hoping and wishing and struggling. Now you might say that is wonderful, but it took 2 months. I need money now. I cannot wait 2 months. I understand. So, let me tell you of another case, one where the money came within days. A mother traveled from the East Coast to visit her daughter in San Francisco. She expected to find the cheerful young woman she knew. Instead, she found her child in anguish. The daughter's face was drawn with worry. She had not been sleeping. Something terrible was weighing upon her. Finally, the daughter told her mother what was wrong. She needed $3,000 immediately. Not in a month, not in a week. Now there was no time to plan, no way to borrow. It was urgent, and she saw no solution. The mother was not poor, but she could not produce such a sum quickly. Her money was tied up in ways that could not be easily freed. And she knew her daughter, proud, independent, determined to make her own way, would never accept a loan. Even if one were offered, she would refuse it. She would see it as charity. Then the daughter said something remarkable. She said, "Mother, help me in your way." What did she mean? She meant the way I had taught her mother in my lectures. She meant imagination. The mother had attended my classes and had told her daughter about this teaching. Now, in her moment of desperation, the daughter was willing to try. The mother agreed, but only on one condition: that the daughter would help her. They would imagine together. Two minds focused on the same objective would carry more power than one. Now listen carefully to what they did. They did not visualize specific checks from specific people. They did not imagine a particular source. They did not try to figure out who would give them the money or how it would come. Instead, they created a simple scene, a simple feeling. They imagined money flooding toward the daughter from everywhere, from every corner of the world, until she stood in a sea of abundance. They saw money come in the north and the south, from the east and the west. They did not name the sources. They simply felt the abundance pouring in. And they did this with joy, not with grasping, not with desperation, not with the anxious clutching of those who fear they will not receive, but with celebration, as if it had already happened, and they were giving thanks. They felt the happiness of receiving. They felt the relief of the problem being solved. They felt gratitude for all who were involved in bringing this blessing. They held this feeling for just moments at a time. Perhaps 30 seconds, perhaps a minute, but they felt it completely. They felt it as real. Within days, the mother returned home to the East Coast. Her own mother, a lovely woman of 91, still sharp and full of life, called her urgently. She had to see her immediately. It could not wait. When the daughter arrived at her elderly mother's home, wondering what could be so urgent, the grandmother handed her a check for $3,000 made out not to her, but to her granddaughter in San Francisco. And that was not all. The grandmother also handed over 3 more checks totaling $1,500 for the great-grandchildren. Why? What had prompted this sudden generosity? The old woman said she had suddenly decided out of nowhere, moved by an impulse she could not explain, to give what she had in cash to those she loved while she was still alive, to witness their joy. She did not want to wait until she was gone. She wanted to see them blessed. Now, do you see what happened? No one asked her for money. No one told her of the daughter's distress. She did not even know there was a problem. And yet, moved by an inner prompting that she experienced as her own spontaneous decision, she gave exactly what was needed at exactly the right time. This is how the law works. It does not ask you to know the source. It does not require you to figure out the channel. It does not demand that you route by which your good will come. It asks only that you assume the state of having received. Feel the wish fulfilled, and the how takes care of itself. The channels are infinite. The ways are beyond calculation. The subconscious mind, connected to every other mind in what I call the larger consciousness, knows exactly how to bring your assumption into physical reality. You do not need to guide it. You need only plant the seed. The mother had imagined, for perhaps 30 seconds at a time, feeling her daughter surrounded by abundance. And within days, money a direction no one could have planned or predicted. But perhaps you are still worried. Perhaps you are thinking, what if I cannot visualize? What if I am no good at seeing pictures in my mind? I have tried to visualize before and I just see darkness. Then, let me tell you of a woman who solved this problem with a single phrase. And in solving it, she received more than she could ever have imagined. She was 55 years old. She had no job. Her car was falling apart, literally on its last wheels. She was behind on her rent and feared eviction. She had no proper clothes to wear to job interviews. Her bank account was nearly empty and she had no family or friends who could rescue her. She stood alone in the world at an age when the world does not easily give new chances. This woman had attended my lectures for nearly a year. She knew the teaching. She understood the principles. But she had never put them to the ultimate test. Now in her desperation, she decided to do exactly that. What did she have to lose? She had already lost almost everything. At first she tried to imagine each thing she needed: the car, the clothes, the apartment, the job. She would lie down at night and try to visualize herself driving a new car or wearing fine clothes to a successful interview, or sitting in a beautiful apartment with the rent fully paid. But the list was so long and her situation was so grim that she exhausted herself with worry before she could even finish one visualization session. Her imagination kept collapsing under the weight of her circumstances. The images would form for a moment and then dissolve into anxiety. She could not hold them. Then she remembered something I had said about capturing a single feeling that could encompass all desires. She stopped trying to imagine specifics. Instead, as she drifted towards sleep, she began to feel simply and purely that something wonderful was happening to her right now. Not tomorrow. Not someday when things got better. Right now, she repeated to herself with feeling. Isn't it wonderful? Something marvelous is happening to me now. Now listen carefully to how she did this. She did not say these words as empty phrases, the way one might mumble an affirmation without really meaning it. She said them with feeling. She let herself feel the way she would feel if she had just received the most wonderful news of her life. She did not know what the news was. She did not try to define it. She simply felt the joy of it, the delight, the surprise, the gratitude, the wonder. She felt as though something marvelous had just happened, even though she did not know what it was. She did this every night for 2 months. Just 30 seconds or so before sleep, she would enter that drowsy state and feel with all her heart. Isn't it wonderful? Something marvelous is happening to me now. And then she would drift off to sleep, resting in that feeling. During the day, her circumstances remained difficult. The bills did not stop coming. The car continued to fall apart. But each night she planted her seed, and each morning she woke with a strange sense of expectancy, as if something good were about to happen. Then one day she met an old acquaintance on the street, someone she had not seen in months. They exchanged pleasantries. He mentioned that he was about to travel to New York for business. They spoke briefly about the city and then parted. She forgot the conversation entirely. It meant nothing to her at the time. 1 month later, that man appeared at her door. He was holding an envelope. Inside, the envelope was a certified check in her name for $2,500. She was too shocked to speak. How could this be? The story he told her seemed like something from a dream. It concerned a friend from her distant past, someone she had not seen or heard from in more than 25 years. This friend, she now learned, had become extremely wealthy in those years. Upon hearing her through the traveler quite by accident, in a casual conversation in New York, he had decided to share a portion of his fortune with her. He gave no reason. He asked for nothing in return. He simply wanted to help. But it did not end there. For the next 2 years, she received monthly checks from this man's attorney, generous checks that more than covered her needs, and left much over for the beautiful things of life. And then legal papers arrived. They established that this monthly income would continue for the rest of her natural life. All from 30 seconds of, "Isn't it wonderful?" before sleep. All from assuming a state of joyous reception without specifying what she would receive. Now, let me tell you one more story before I explain the technique in full. This one is about a 9-year-old boy, and it taught me something profound about the nature of the law. It taught me that children often understand these principles better than adults because children have not yet learned to doubt their imagination. One afternoon, a grandmother brought her young grandson to my lecture in New York. She had come with questions of her own, practical questions about her business and her life. The boy sat quietly in his chair with a small toy truck, apparently absorbed in his play, while I spoke to the adults. I explained the law of assumption to his grandmother. I told her that whatever state she assumed, whatever she felt to be true of herself, she would inevitably experience in her outer world. The assumption persisted and hardens into fact. I told her the story of a soldier during the war who had longed to be home. Each night in his barracks, surrounded by hundreds of other soldiers, he would imagine himself in his own bed, in his own home. He would feel the familiar sheets against his skin. He would hear the sounds of his neighborhood. He would rest in the feeling of being exactly where he wanted to be. He did this night after night. And before long, he received an honorable discharge and returned home. I explained to the grandmother that this was not magic or wishful thinking. It was the operation of a law as reliable as any law of physics. Assumption when persisted in conditions of its own fulfillment. When the grandmother and the boy rose to leave, the boy looked up at me with shining eyes. He was filled with excitement. He said, "I know what I want, and now I know how to get it." I was surprised. I had been speaking to adults about adult matters. I had not thought the boy was even listening. I asked him what he wanted. He said with complete certainty, "I want a puppy." The grandmother immediately protested. She turned to me with apologetic embarrassment and explained the situation. The boy's parents had absolutely forbidden a dog. They had made it very clear many times. His father in particular hated dogs. He could not stand them. There was no possibility, none, that this boy would ever have a dog. But the boy was undeterred. He said, "Every night as I'm going off to sleep, I'm going to pretend that I have a dog and we're going for a walk." The grandmother shook her head vigorously. "No," she said, "that is not what the man means. This teaching was not meant for you. You cannot have a dog." The boy just smiled. Approximately 6 weeks later, the grandmother wrote to tell me what had happened. The boy had done exactly what he said he would do. Each night as he drifted towards sleep, he imagined himself walking with his dog. He felt the leash in his hand. He felt the presence of his companion beside him. He felt the joy of having exactly what he wanted. And then one evening, his father, the man who hated dogs, came home from work with something in his arms. A business associate's dog had given birth to a litter of puppies. Something had come over the father at work that day. He could not explain it, But before he knew what he was doing, he had picked up one of the puppies and decided to bring it home to his son. The grandmother was astounded. The father could not explain his own behavior. The mother was shocked, but the boy was not surprised at all. He knew exactly what had happened. He had assumed the state of having a dog, and the world had rearranged itself to make it so. A 9-year-old understood the law in an instant. He did not ask how it would happen. He did not wonder whether it was possible. He did not concern himself with the obstacles. He simply assumed he already had what he desired, felt it real each night before sleep, and let the law do its work. This is why I say to you, the simplicity of 30 seconds is not a limitation but a liberation. You do not need hours of meditation. You do not need complex rituals. You need one moment of genuine assumption. A child proved it. Now that you have seen the law proven in the lives of others, the executive, the mother and daughter, the woman who said, "Isn't it wonderful?" and the boy with his puppy, let me explain precisely why it works. When you understand the mechanics, you will apply the technique with confidence, and confidence is power. Before you can use the snap technique effectively, you must understand what you truly are. You are not a body that possesses consciousness, you are consciousness itself, wearing the garment of a body for a time. The body is the vehicle, not the driver. The body is the house, not the one who lives within. And this consciousness, this awareness of being, this sense of I am, that you feel right now as you listen to these words, is what the scriptures call God. I know that may startle you. It may seem blasphemous or arrogant. But listen carefully and you will see that the Bible itself declares this truth over and over again. I am hath sent me unto you. Be still and know that I am God. I am the Lord, and there is no God beside me. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Every time the scriptures speak of I am, they speak of your own awareness of being. Not a God in the sky on a distant throne. Not a being separate from yourself who may or may not choose to help you, but the very power of awareness that makes you conscious that you exist right now. This I am is unconditioned. Before you say I am poor or I am rich, before you say I am sick or I am well, before you add any description at all, there is simply I am pure awareness, pure being, pure creative power. This is what the mystics call the unconditioned consciousness. It has no qualities of its own. It is not limited in any way. It is the infinite potential from which all conditions arise. But then you condition it. You take this pure I am and you marry it to a state. You say I am poor. You say I am. You say I am stuck. You say I am a failure. And by this marriage, by this union of I am with a limiting concept, you create your experience. The pure consciousness takes the form of whatever state you attach to it. The whole vast world around you is nothing more than your own imagining pushed out. What you are conscious of being, you must experience. What you assume as true of yourself, reality must confirm. This is not positive thinking. This is not a self-help trick. This is the very law of creation. It is the way the universe is structured. Consciousness is the only reality, and all outer conditions are shadows cast by the light of your beliefs. Man becomes what he imagines, not what he hopes, not what he wants, not what he prays for, but what he imagines with feeling. The feeling is the creative agent. It is the secret ingredient that activates the law. If you imagined wealth but felt poverty, you would remain poor because feeling is the secret. The subconscious does not respond to words. It does not care what you say. It responds to the feeling tone behind the words. And that feeling is what you plant as a seed. So when I speak of 30 seconds, I speak of 30 seconds of feeling, not 30 seconds of repeating affirmations, not 30 seconds of trying to think the right thoughts, but 30 seconds of genuinely feeling yourself to be what you desire to be. This brings us to the crucial question: how does one feel wealthy when the wallet is empty? How does one feel abundant when the bills are piling up? How does one assume a state that seems to contradict all evidence? The answer is this: you do not feel wealthy because of circumstances. You feel wealthy despite circumstances. You turn from the evidence of the senses and feel the state you wish to embody. You do not need external permission to feel mission. You give yourself permission. You assume the feeling as an act of creative will. And when you do, when you hold that feeling with conviction, even for a few seconds, the external world has no choice but to conform. This is the great secret most people never discover. You do not need to wait for circumstances to change before you feel the state you desire. You feel the state first and then circumstances change to match it. Now, I must tell you something equally important. The 30 seconds before sleep is the most powerful time for planting your seed, but it is not the only time that matters. What you do with your inner speech throughout the day either supports your nighttime planting or undermines it. Inner speech. The mental conversations you carry on with yourself all day long is constantly creating your future. Most people are completely unaware of this inner dialogue. It runs automatically like a radio playing in the background. But it is not harmless background noise. It is the constant sowing of seeds. Listen to what you are saying to yourself right now. Listen tomorrow as you go about your day. What are the conversations running through your mind? Are you telling yourself stories of lack? Are you rehearsing arguments with people who have wronged you? Are you imagining worst-case scenarios and feeling the fear of them? Every inner conversation is a creative act. The subconscious listens to every word you speak inwardly and accepts it as instruction. If you spend your days saying, "I'll never get ahead," or "money always slips through my fingers," or "rich people are lucky I'm not," then you are undoing at sunrise what you planted at midnight. This is why I speak of what I call the mental diet. Just as you would not eat poison and expect to be healthy, you cannot think poison and expect to be prosperous. You must guard your inner speech as carefully as you guard your nightly practice. When you catch yourself in negative inner conversation, and you will catch yourself many times, for the habit is deep, simply stop. Do not criticize yourself. Do not feel guilty. Simply stop and redirect. Replace the inner speech of lack with the inner speech of fulfillment. Instead of "I can't afford that," say inwardly, "Everything I need comes to me easily." Instead of "Money is so hard to come by," say "Money flows to me from expected and unexpected sources." And say it with feeling. Mean it. Let yourself feel the truth of it even for a moment. This is not lying to yourself. This is choosing which truth you will feed. Both poverty and wealth exist as possibilities. Both are real states you could inhabit. By controlling your inner speech, you are choosing which state you will occupy, and therefore which state will express in your world. The people in your life, too, will reflect your inner conversations about them. This is a profound truth that I call everyone is you pushed out. The way others treat you is a reflection of your own assumptions about yourself and about them. If you walk through life assuming that people are helpful and generous, you will encounter helpful and generous people. If you assume that the world is against you, you will find evidence of opposition everywhere you turn. The world is a mirror, and it reflects your consciousness perfectly. This is why the grandmother in San Francisco gave exactly what was needed. She was responding not to external information, but to an inner prompting created by her daughter's and granddaughter's imagination. They imagined money coming from everywhere with joy, and she felt moved to give. She thought it was her own spontaneous decision. But decisions are never truly spontaneous. They are the outer expression of inner states. Sometimes our own. Sometimes the states that others hold concerning us. When you change your assumptions about wealth, you change not only your own behavior, but the behavior of everyone in your world. Opportunities that seemed closed will open. People who seemed indifferent will become helpful. Resources that seemed unavailable will suddenly appear. The whole vast world rearranges itself to match your new state, because the whole vast world is your own imagining pushed out. Let me now show you precisely how the subconscious receives these seeds and brings them to harvest. Your mind operates on two levels, and these two levels have very different functions. There is the conscious mind, the waking self that reasons and plans and worries and analyzes. This is the mind you are using right now as you listen to these words. It evaluates, it compares, it questions, it doubts. And there is the subconscious, the deeper self that creates, maintains, and expresses. This is the mind that keeps your heart beating, that digests your food, that heals your cuts and bruises, without any conscious effort on your part. It is also the mind that takes your persistent thoughts and feelings and projects them outward as the conditions of your life. Think of the subconscious as the womb of a woman. It receives impressions and gives them form. It never argues. It never questions whether something is possible or impossible, reasonable or unreasonable. It simply takes whatever is impressed upon it with feeling and outpictures it as your external reality. This is why the Bible says, as within so without. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. The outer world is a projection of the inner world. The circumstances of your life are the children of your consciousness. Change the inner impression, and the outer must follow, not because of magic, but because of law. But here is the secret that most people miss. The key that unlocks the whole technique. The subconscious is most receptive in the drowsy state between waking and sleeping. This is what I call the state akin to sleep. It is that wonderful, floating hypnagogic state that you pass through every night as you fall asleep, and again every morning as you wake. In this state, the conscious mind relaxes its grip, the critical faculty withdraws. The door to the subconscious swings open. During your waking hours, you are bombarded with sense impressions. The conscious mind is busy analyzing, doubting, questioning everything. But as you relax towards sleep, that activity diminishes. For a brief window, just seconds, perhaps a minute or two, you have direct access to the creative depths. And what you impress upon the subconscious in that moment goes directly to work. There is no resistance. There is no filtering. The seed is planted and the germination begins immediately. This is why the snap technique works. It is designed for that precise moment when you are drowsy but still aware. When the body is relaxed, but the imagination can still be directed. When you can feel a state deeply without the interference of rational objection. You drop the seed of feeling into the subconscious at exactly the moment when it can receive without resistance. And once received, it must express. The subconscious has no choice. It is its nature to give form to whatever is impressed upon it with feeling. The Psalms say, "He who goes out weeping, bearing the seed for sowing, shall come home with shouts of joy, bringing his sheaf with him." The seed is your feeling. The sowing is the moment before sleep. The harvest is the manifestation in your world. And the harvest is certain if the seed is properly planted. Nothing stops the manifestation except your failure to feel the wish fulfilled. If you feel lack, you plant lack, and lack will grow in your garden. If you feel fulfillment, you plant fulfillment, and fulfillment will grow. The subconscious does not judge. It does not decide what is good for you or bad for you. It serves both the wise and the foolish according to the same law. It gives form to whatever you feel most deeply. Therefore, guard your feelings as you would guard a precious treasure. What you feel most deeply, most persistently, most convincingly, that is what you shall experience. Now, let us look more closely at why feeling and not mere picturing is the true secret of this work. This is where most people fail, and this is where you will succeed. Many people think that imagination means visualization, seeing pictures in the mind like a movie playing on an internal screen. And while you can use visual imagery, it is not the essential thing. Many people cannot visualize clearly, and they believe this disqualifies them from using the law. It does not. The essential thing is feeling. Feeling is the secret of imagining. Let me make this very clear. You could visualize money for hours, seeing stacks of bills in perfect detail, counting them, arranging them, watching yourself spend them, and produce nothing. If you felt poor while doing it, the pictures mean nothing without the feeling. They are empty forms. Conversely, you could have no visual ability whatsoever. You could see only darkness when you close your eyes, and yet plant a seed that transforms your life. If you captured the feeling of wealth, the feeling is everything. What feeling am I speaking of? Not excitement, not desperation, not hope. I speak of the quiet satisfaction of already having the contentment of the wish fulfilled. The relief that comes when a problem is solved and you can finally relax. The naturalness of being what you wanted to be. It is the feeling you would have after the money arrived, not the feeling of wanting it to arrive. There is a vast difference between these two, and most people never learn to make the distinction. When you want something to arrive, you are standing outside the state reaching for it. You are affirming that you do not have it. You are declaring the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And that gap is what the subconscious receives and perpetuates. When you feel that it has arrived, you are standing inside the state resting in it. There is no gap. There is no reaching. You have what you desire. You are what you desire. And that is what the subconscious receives and expresses. Think of a woman who has longed for a child and now holds her newborn in her arms. She does not feeling. The yearning is over. She feels fulfillment. She feels gratitude. She feels completeness. There is nothing to reach for because she has already received. This is the quality of feeling you must capture for 30 seconds before sleep. Not the ache of wanting, but the peace of having. Not the tension of hoping, but the relaxation of receiving. Now you may ask, how do I find this feeling when my circumstances completely contradict it? How do I feel wealthy when I am looking at an empty bank account? How do I feel the wish fulfilled when my wish is so far from being fulfilled? There are two ways, and you may use either or both. First, you can use your memory. You have felt satisfaction before. You have felt relief. You have felt joy at receiving something you desired. Perhaps it was a gift you received as a child. Perhaps it was good news that came when you least expected it. Perhaps it was the feeling of finally finishing something difficult and being able to rest. Call up that feeling, not the memory of the specific event, but the quality of the feeling itself. Happiness, relief, satisfaction, contentment, gratitude, and then attach that feeling to your new desire. Feel it about your financial abundance, even though the abundance has not yet appeared. Second, you can use your imagination directly. Ask yourself, how would I feel if it were true right now? If the money were in my account this very moment? If all my bills were paid and there was plenty left over, how would I feel? And then dare to feel that way. Give yourself permission. Do not wait for external justification. The subconscious does not know the difference between an imagined feeling and a so-called real feeling. It responds to feeling as feeling. The source does not matter. The reality does not matter. Only the feeling matters, and what you feel you plant. Now let me explain exactly what the SNAP technique is and how to apply it. This very night, I will give you each element in detail so that you can use it immediately. SNAP stands for Subconscious Now Assumption Practice. It is not a new law, but a refined and simple application of the law that governs all creation. It is designed to work quickly, to be easy to remember, and to produce results. The technique has 4 elements each, corresponding to a letter in the word SNAP. The first element is S, subconscious entry point. You must enter the state akin to sleep. This is the doorway to the creative depths, and without opening this door, your efforts will be far less effective. When you are ready to sleep tonight, lie down on your back in a comfortable position. Let your arms rest at your sides. Let your legs extend naturally. Make sure you are comfortable because you do not want physical discomfort to distract you. Close your eyes. Begin to relax your body systematically. Start with your feet. Feel them growing heavy, sinking into the mattress. Move up to your calves, your thighs. Let all tension drain away. Continue up through your abdomen, your chest, your shoulders. Let your arms go limp. Let your hands rest open, fingers loose. Finally, relax your face. Let your jaw drop slightly. Let your forehead smooth. Let your eyes rest gently in their sockets. Now, with your body completely relaxed, begin to feel drowsy. Say to yourself slowly and gently, I am sleepy. So sleepy. So very sleepy. Do not fight the drowsiness. Welcome it, but do not fall asleep quite yet. Hold yourself on that threshold between waking and sleeping. The place where you feel removed from the world, yet still aware of your own thoughts. You will know you have reached it when you feel heavy, distant, and strangely peaceful. You may feel as if you are floating, You may feel as if the boundaries of your body have softened or disappeared. This is the door to the subconscious. It is open. You are ready. The second element is end now consciousness. You must bring your desire into the now. Not tomorrow. Not someday in the future. Now, most people fail at manifestation because they keep their desires in the future. They imagine getting something, receiving something, being given something, all of which implies that they do not currently have it. And this implication is what the subconscious receives. The secret is to shift from wanting to having. Instead of imagining that money is coming, imagine that money has come. Instead of hoping for wealth, rest in wealth. Instead of reaching for abundance, settle into abundance as your present state. You accomplish this shift by asking yourself, if my desire were fulfilled right now, what would I be feeling? What would my inner speech be saying? And then you feel it. You think it, you hear yourself speaking inwardly as one who has received. If you would say to yourself, thank God, everything worked out. Then say it now, in relief that goes with those words. If you would think, I can't believe how well this turned out. Then think it now, and feel the wonder. If you would tell a friend, everything is taken care of. Then imagine telling them now, and feel the satisfaction of making that statement. The third element is a assumption of the wish fulfilled. Assumption is the act of identifying with a state. When you assume wealth, you do not pretend to be wealthy. You recognize yourself as wealthy. There is a subtle but crucial difference between these two. Pretending maintains the old self underneath, playing a role it does not believe. The pretender knows that the act is false, that the real self is still poor, still lacking, still wanting. And this knowledge is what the subconscious receives. Assumption replaces the old self. It is not acting, it is being. It is a movement of consciousness from one state to another. A complete shift of identity from one who lacks to one who has. As you lie in that drowsy threshold state, you assume. You do not hope. You do not wish. You do not beg. You do not try to convince yourself. You simply assume. You dare to believe, even if only for 30 seconds, that you are now what you desire to be. And here is the beautiful thing. You do not need to hold this state for hours. You do not need to maintain it through doubt and struggle. You need only touch it with feeling, with conviction for a few seconds, and the impression is made. The subconscious is like a photographic plate. The exposure happens in an instant when the conditions are right. You do not need to keep the lens open for hours. You need only the right intensity for the right moment. The fourth element is plant and release. Once you have felt the assumption deeply, even for just 30 seconds, you release it to the subconscious by sinking into sleep. Do not try to hold on to the feeling as you fall asleep. Do not try to force it to work. Do not lie there analyzing whether you did it correctly or wondering when the results will come. Simply feel satisfied that you have planted the seed, and then let go. The subconscious takes over from there. It is the gardener of the soul, and it tends every seed you plant with perfect faithfulness. You do not need to dig up the seed to see if it is growing. You do not need to worry about it overnight. You need only trust that what is planted must harvest. If you do this correctly, you will notice a sense of relief as you release. A feeling of it is done. a quiet satisfaction as if you have just completed an important task and can now rest. This is the sign that the seed has been received. The entire process from relaxation to release need take no more than 30 seconds once you are practiced. The first few nights may take longer as you learn to find the threshold state and settle into the feeling. But with practice, you will slip into it quickly and plant your seed efficiently. In that 30 seconds, you will have set in motion forces that will rearrange your world to match your assumption. Not through your effort, not through your planning, not through your cleverness, but through the effortless working of the law. There is one more tool I want to give you, and it is called revision. This is for the times when your day has gone badly, when you have received disappointing news or had an unpleasant encounter or experienced something that seems to reinforce the very lack you are trying to overcome. Revision works like this. Before you do your nightly planting, take a moment to replay the unpleasant event in your imagination, but change it. See it happening differently. Hear different words being spoken. Feel the way you would feel if the event had gone as you wished. If you received a rejection letter, revise it into an acceptance. If someone spoke harshly to you about money, revise the conversation into words of encouragement and support. If you checked your bank account and felt despair, revise the scene. See a number that pleases you. Feel the relief and satisfaction. You are not denying that the unpleasant event occurred. You are refusing to accept it as final. You are rewriting the script of your life by changing the inner record. And when the inner record is changed, the outer reality must eventually conform. Use revision every night before your main planting. Clear away the debris of the day. Rewrite the scenes that troubled you, and then with a clean slate, enter your drowsy state and plant your seed of abundance. Now, let me address some questions that may arise as you practice this technique. I want you to be prepared for the obstacles that may come so that you can overcome them. What if I fall asleep before I feel the state fully? This is common at first. The threshold state is very close to sleep, and sometimes you will slip across the line before you have finished your work. If this happens, you have planted whatever you were last feeling, which may or may not be what you desired. If you fell asleep feeling the wish fulfilled, good. If you fell asleep in doubt or worry, less good. The solution is practice. With time, you will learn to hold yourself in that threshold state long enough to complete the work. You will recognize when you are about to slip into sleep and will do your planting before you cross over. You can also practice at other times when you naturally find yourself in that drowsy state. In the morning when you are waking but have not yet fully risen. In the afternoon if you rest. In the night, if you wake briefly. Anytime you are naturally drowsy, you have access to the threshold. What if I cannot stop thinking about how the money will come? This is the interference of the conscious mind trying to help. It wants to figure things out. It wants to plan and calculate and know. But the how is not your concern. This is crucial. You do not need to know the source of the money. You do not need to figure out through which it will come. You do not need to plan the route. Your only responsibility is to feel the end as though it were now. The subconscious mind, with its infinite resources and its connection to every other mind in existence, will select the means. It has access to possibilities that your conscious mind cannot even imagine. It can influence people you have never met, create circumstances you could never plan, and bring together coincidences that seem like miracles. Trust it to find the way. Your job is only to define the destination by feeling it real. What if doubts arise the next day? They will arise. I can promise you that. The old man of habit does not surrender easily. You have spent years, perhaps your entire life, thinking of yourself as one who lacks. That old identity has deep roots, and it will not vanish after one night's work. But here is what you must understand. Your doubts do not cancel your planting unless you give them the same feeling, intensity you gave your assumption. When doubts come, do not fight them. Struggling with doubt only gives it power. Resistance is attention, and what you attend to with emotion you strengthen. Instead, simply acknowledge the doubt and let it pass like a cloud crossing the sky. Remind yourself calmly and quietly, I have planted my seed. The harvest is certain. I need not dig up the seed to see if it is growing. And when night comes again, plant again. Repetition strengthens assumption. Each night's planting reinforces the impression, making it deeper and more stable until the new state becomes so natural that you no longer question it. Eventually, you will feel wealthy as easily as you now feel your name. What if my circumstances get worse before they get better? Sometimes this happens, and it can be very discouraging if you do not understand what is occurring. The old conditions may intensify before they dissolve. This is the death throes of a pattern that is passing away. The old state is fighting for its life, making one last desperate appearance, but it is already doomed. The new seed has been planted, and nothing can prevent its harvest. Do not let appearances disturb you. Do not take worsening conditions as proof that the technique has failed. Remember, what you see today is the harvest of yesterday's planting. The bills that are piling up, the opportunities that seem to slip away. These are the last fruits of the old seeds finally falling from the tree. The new harvest is growing in the darkness, invisible but real. Keep your eyes on the wish fulfilled, not on the present evidence. As the scriptures say, judge not according to appearances, but judge righteous judgment. Righteous judgment is seeing from the end, not from the middle of the story. What if nothing seems to happen at all, even after weeks of practice? If nothing happens after sincere and consistent practice, examine the quality of your feeling. There is a difference between thinking about a desire and thinking from its fulfillment. One leaves you outside the state observing it like a movie on a screen. The other places you inside the state living it as your present reality. Ask yourself honestly, when I practice, do I feel that I have it, or do I feel that I want it? Do I rest in satisfaction, or do I still ache with longing? Do I feel wealthy, or do I feel like a poor person trying to imagine wealth? The answer will tell you whether you have truly assumed or merely wished. If you find that you have been wishing rather than assuming, do not criticize yourself. Simply adjust. Go deeper into the feeling. Let yourself truly inhabit the state, even if only for a moment. That moment is enough. And do not give up. Return to the practice. Refine your feeling and trust the law even when you cannot see its workings. The seed grows in the darkness before it breaks through the soil into light. Now you may wonder why I emphasize such a brief time. 30 seconds seems so short. Surely something as important as transforming your financial life requires hours of dedicated practice. Let me explain. The subconscious is like a photographic plate. It takes impressions instantaneously when the conditions are right. A photograph does not require the camera lens to be open for an hour. A fraction of a second is sufficient, provided the exposure is correct, provided the light is right and the lens is focused. What makes the exposure correct in our work is intensity of feeling and singularity of focus. A faint scattered impression makes a faint scattered manifestation. A vivid focused impression makes a vivid definite manifestation. 30 seconds of concentrated, deeply felt assumption accomplishes more than hours of distracted hoping. This is why I call it a snap. It is quick, decisive, complete. Furthermore, long sessions often lead to mental wandering. The mind begins to analyze. It begins to wonder if the technique is working. It begins to doubt, and these mental activities contaminate the impression, mixing weeds with the good seed. Better to plant one clean seed than 100 mixed ones. Better to feel the wish fulfilled purely for 30 seconds than to struggle with doubts for 30 minutes. This is also why the state akin to sleep is so valuable. In that threshold state, you cannot maintain concentrated attention for long before you drift into unconsciousness. But you do not need long. You need only long enough to feel the assumption as real. And that can happen in seconds. Once it is felt as real, even briefly, the subconscious has received it. And the subconscious never forgets. It will work upon that seed day and night, arranging circumstances, influencing minds, opening channels, inspiring hunches, creating coincidences until the inner assumption becomes the outer fact. So do not be deceived by the brevity of the technique. Its power lies not in duration but in depth. A single moment of genuine assumption outweighs a lifetime of hoping. Now, let me give you complete practice one more time so that you can use it tonight with clarity and confidence. Before you lie down, decide exactly what would imply that your desire for money has been fulfilled. Choose something simple and specific. Choose something that would only happen after the money had already arrived, not during the process of receiving it, but after the completion. You might imagine a friend saying, "So happy for you. Everything worked out." You might imagine looking at your bank statement and feeling satisfied by what you see. You might imagine the feeling of paying bills without stress, knowing there is plenty. You might imagine simply saying to yourself, "Thank God, it's done." The scene must be short, something that would take only a few seconds in real life. And it must imply fulfillment, completion, having. Prepare also a short phrase that captures the feeling. "Isn't it wonderful?" or "Thank God it's done," or "I am so grateful," or "Everything is taken care of." This phrase will be your anchor. When you are ready, lie down on your back, close your eyes and relax completely. Feel your body becoming heavy, sinking into the bed. Induce drowsiness by saying inwardly, "I am sleepy, so sleepy." Enter the threshold state where you are removed from the world but still aware. Then enter your scene. Be in it, not watching it. Feel what you would feel if this moment were real. Speak your phrase with genuine feeling. Let the satisfaction wash through you. Hold this for 30 seconds. Just 30 seconds of genuine feeling. Then release. Let go. Sink into sleep with a sense of completion. Trust that the seed is planted. When you wake, do not look for evidence. Go about your day with quiet expectancy. Guard your inner speech. When doubts arise, let them pass without feeding them. And when night comes, plant again. Do this for as long as it takes. The harvest is certain. The law never fails. Tonight I have shown you the law that governs all creation. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the author of circumstance. You are not seeking wealth from a world that withholds it. You are awakening to the wealth that has always been within you, waiting only for your recognition. The snap technique is your tool. Use it tonight. Use it every night until your desire becomes your reality. 30 seconds is enough. The depth of feeling matters more than the length of time. One genuine assumption outweighs 1,000 hollow repetitions. The stories I have shared tonight are not exceptions to the law. They are illustrations of the law that operates without exception. The executive, the mother and daughter, the woman who said, "Isn't it wonderful?" The 9-year-old boy, all of them proved the same principle in their own lives. What they had in common was not unusual power. It was simple obedience to the law. They assumed, they felt, they released, and reality confirmed their faith. You can do the same. You will do the same. Beginning tonight, take this affirmation with you into sleep. I am now the person I desire to be. I rest in the consciousness of the wish fulfilled. The world must reshape itself to match my assumption. For I am the creative power of my life. I do not hope for wealth. I rest in wealth. I do not pray for abundance. I give thanks for abundance. It is done. The seed is planted, and nothing in all creation can prevent its harvest. My friend, I have given you tonight what gold cannot. Purchase a law that brings gold to you. If this teaching has awakened something within you, if you sense the truth of what I have shared, then I ask 3 things of you. First, subscribe to this channel so that you may continue to learn. There is much more to share. Deeper mysteries, further applications, greater revelations of the power that sleeps within you, waiting to be awakened. Let us walk this path together. Second, if this message has touched you, press the like button so that others who need it may find it. There are many who lie awake tonight in desperation, not knowing that freedom is 30 seconds away. Let your simple action be the bridge that brings them here. Third, leave a comment below. Tell me of your intention tonight. Tell me what you will assume as you drift towards sleep, and when the manifestation comes, as it must return, and share your testimony. For every story of success becomes a lamp that lights the way for those who follow. Now, go. The night awaits. And in the sanctuary of your own consciousness, the treasury of heaven stands open. Assume you're good, feel it real, and let it be done unto you according to your faith. Sleep well, my friend, and may you wake tomorrow to a world that has already begun to reshape itself in the image of your highest imagination. Thank you.